All right, take 4. What's good, Gangnam Styles? Gangle Dangles. Basically, I'm gonna be showing you how to add your add-ons to your server to make it unique, or whatever the fuck you want to do with it. Because you know the documentation fucking sucks. So you're gonna start by adding a folder called add-ons. Make sure it's called add-ons. Inside of that, you want to add a folder, which is your server folder. So name this something simple because you're going to be typing it a lot, or however much you use custom assets. So I'm going to call it server name. There we go. And inside of that, I'm going to create a textures folder because this is where all your assets are going to be packed. So anything inside of this root right here is going to be packed. Then in textures, I'm going to get a texture to pack. I'll be right back. All right, I got a texture, mic11.png, just this simple PNG. And then I'm going to go back to the root directory, then open tools, content maker, open contentmaker.exe. Choose option 2. That's going to scan the directory and pack all files, and then make an addons.json file. So type in 2, and then you go back to your root directory, open add-ons, open this, then copy that, Control-C or right-click copy, then Control-V here, and then type / here. That's going to basically get all the files inside the directory. If you don't have that, it's going to pack absolutely nothing. Hit enter, and then hit enter. That's going to make the default content.cvpack file. So now you have this and this. This, you're going to want to open and change this to whatever your server folder is called. I'm going to just Control-C, or you can right-click copy. Control-V, or paste, and then specify this. To do that, we need to get a link to our content.cvpack file. It has to be a direct to download link. So I'm gonna go here, or open a tab in Google or whatever the fuck you use. Google Drive. I use Google Drive. I think that's easiest thing to do, and this tutorial is basically just gonna use that. And if you use anything else, you're a dick. Then you need to make a new folder. Well, you don't need to, but I really highly recommend you do. Then name this whatever the fuck you want. Server folder. Create that. Then we're gonna go inside of there. This is where you're gonna put your content.cvpack. There we go. And then we share that. Anyone with the link, make sure it's anyone with the link. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to download because, you have to let strangers on the internet access that link. Then we got to open up Google Drive direct link generator, or you could just, change the URL, but I'm lazy as shit. So paste that there, Control-V or paste. Should have equals sharing at the end. Create a direct link, click that to copy. Then we Control-V or paste in there, Control-S or save. Then we can close this, go back to our root, and then now that we have the link in here, we need to add this here, because we need a link to this so the server will recognize it and use it for registering assets. So now we got to copy that link. Control-A, Control-V, create direct link, click the copy, and then we got to go back to our server root and open our server.config. In content URL, we paste that in, make sure there's a space here, Control-S or file save, and then we can close that. Then we got to go to add-ons. Here, go back to your add-ons folder, copy that, and put it in your root. Paste. Now that that's in your root, the server should recognize it. So I'm going to run a quick test. There we go. It recognizes the content URL. If this is blank, it's because you didn't put a space or something like that. And now we wait. Oh, there we go. It initialized the scene. So it ran and it got multiplayer content, recognized our .json-c, which is right here, and we got our multiplayer content. Now, I highly recommend you attempt to join the server because it'll kick you out if something with the URLs is wonky or winky. So I'm gonna go join my local server. Wait for that to load. Right, so we connecting again. Okay, there we go. All right, finally loaded in. And we are good. We didn't get kicked, so you know that's a good sign. Quit. All right, for custom rooms, we are gonna want to go to the documentation, which is gonna look something like this. UERM scripting. You can find that in the Discord somewhere. I'm not gonna bother to tell you where the fuck that is because I hope you can find it yourself. Open that up, and we're gonna use this for rooms. So copy that. Go to addons, server name. Open up your addons.json-c. Put a comma here. Enter down, and then paste that in. Control S, or file save. And then we can delete the comma, I believe. Control S or save, close. I'm actually gonna back this up real quick because I don't want it to overwrite. And if we're just updating our add-ons, well, actually, I won't be. So let me create a new rooms and a new data. And actually in here, you're gonna want to change this to whatever your server folder is named. So server name, and then change this to whatever your folder is gonna be called. Mine's gonna be data lowercase. I don't know if caps matter, but I'm gonna assume it does. And I'm just gonna name my file rooms.ini, so I'll keep that the same. Then we can close that, go into data, and then in here we want to create a new text document, rooms. I can't type. .ini. Yes. Open that up. Then in here, you basically want to use that. So you're gonna want to type what's your room name? And then you're gonna want to type your description. Make sure everything's matching up with this. Discur equals ball torture. Then in mesh path equals // addons / server name / I've named mine room, which is here, rooms. So make sure that's exactly the same. Then in there, the room is going to be called there we go. Now that that's added, we gotta add our shape. The shape is basically how many exits the room has and entrances. So if it's like a dead end, it has 1. If it's a curve, it has 2, and so on and so forth. You know, I'm just gonna make it a dead end because I'm pretty sure it's a dead end. Commonness. I don't know what the dick this does. I'm pretty sure for things that are just always supposed to spawn, put in 0. Other than that, I don't really know. So just, figure it out. Disable decals equals, I don't know what the dick that does either, so figure that out yourself. Zone 1 equals zone. So I think 1 is heavy containment. You're gonna have to experiment to find out the rest of them. Additive equals 1. I don't know what the fuck that is. A zone equals, I don't know. I don't fucking know what that is. Chance equals, I think, I also don't know what this is, so I don't know, ask it dev. They're not gonna respond, but figure it out. Room ID, this needs to be bigger than what other rooms are. So if I go here and I open up, to check this, you're gonna want to go into scripts, breach, UERM, include UERM.s. And then in there, you're gonna want to search Control F, room, and then just scroll to the bottom of this. So reserve to 300, so we can do 301. And then that's it. And then Control S, close out of that. And then inside of add-ons, server name, rooms, this needs to be your room, so I'm gonna go get that. All right, I have my R mesh. I'm actually gonna go double check that I added the room correctly to rooms.ini. All right, it's torture chamber. Well. You need to add .r mesh after it. Make sure that's there. Make sure you have the file name too. And then I'm actually just gonna copy this real quick and paste it in my rooms, just to make sure they're 100% the same. Never can be too sure. Yeah, well. Very different. All right. Now that I have the room there, I can delete these two. Make sure to delete these, otherwise it's gonna pack wrong. Add-ons, or go back to your root. Again, you're gonna want to pack it. So option 2, server add-ons here. Control C. This backspace enter. Then we can close that, and now we have these. All right, to update your file, you're gonna want to open up your old one because it has this in it, so you don't want to lose that every single time and just reset. So then we add this. Make sure to get the hash from this. Control C or copy. Close that. Then we can put this here. Save. Then I'm going to change this to server name. I don't think I changed it here. Data. Oh shit. Data. Save that. Keep that open because you're going to need to update the link too. So open that, then go here, move to trash, drag that in, wait for it to upload, share that again. Anyone with the link, then copy the link and put that in here again. Copy that, and then use that here. Control V, then Control S or file save. And then we have our add-ons updated, so we're gonna want to delete this too. Move to trash. Then move this one in, not the one in here, because this is not the one that was updated. Make sure you're doing the right add-ons. You can always just double click to check and open it. Then share, anyone with the link. Copy. Control A, Control V, create direct link, copy that. And now that we have that, go back to your root, open up server config, and paste it here. Then Control S, Control S or save. And then go back to your add-ons, copy this, paste it here, yes, replace, and we should be good to go, I think. And your room should be registered. Oh shit, wrong file. Alright. I'm gonna go open up Steam real quick and launch my game. Yep, we got our add-ons loaded correctly. Join my local server. Sorry. Yep, and you can see that it was downloaded correctly, which means you didn't have it set to not anyone with a link, or had stuff messed up with links. Now I'm just gonna wait here for it to load. All right, well, we're in the game, so that's pretty cool. To check it, you're gonna have to be an admin and teleport yourself to the room. But there we go. Now the room's loaded. Quit that. Close the server, and that's it for rooms. All right. Now I'm gonna do some player textures because that's the easiest one, and I'll just explain the rest of these instead of doing an example for them. So I have that copied, so I'm gonna open up add-ons, open up addons.json, and then basically I'm just gonna add a comma here, and then add that there, and that's gonna be good. You're gonna want to update this to addons / server name / wherever you have your texture. I don't really know where you would have yours, but I'm just gonna use this one. Server name textures / McLovin.png. There we go. Now that's saved. For player textures, you're gonna want to change that to find the player texture IDs and make sure it's not gonna interfere with the rest of your game. Go back to your root, go to scripts, go to include, or breach include, doesn't really matter. Then in here, hit Control F and then search for textures. Default model textures. And in model textures, we can see it goes all the way up to 32 now. So having it as 31 would conflict. So we can set this to, I don't know, 50. Because I don't want it to conflict with any updates. Hopefully that's not too big of a number. Anyways, we can close that. Oh yeah, and basically to add another asset, you just put a comma here, and then so on and so forth. For more player textures, make sure it's in the same one here, so copy that, comma, there we go, 51, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so then we can close this. Actually, I'm gonna go delete this to make sure there's no conflicts there. Close that. Actually, no, keep that open because you're gonna have to repack. Go get your link again and get your hash. I'm not gonna have to do that because I'm only updating the thing. I'm not adding another asset. So I'm gonna go to. I can just go to add-ons. Then delete add-ons here. If you're not adding a new asset, you are just able to, update the .json and not everything at once, So change that to anyone, copy that, AV, and then open that up, then open your root server config, do that, Control V, Control S or save. Then go back and go into add-ons, copy this. It's very important that you do this. Paste that there, replace. And now we have our player texture in the game. Now for the rest of these, basically player models, ID, make sure that's not conflicting. File name is just the directory to the mesh.b3d. It's always going to be a b3d. This hasn't done anything for me. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. This is going to be your head bone, so things like 096 know where you're looking. That's your spine, where I think if you are like looking around, it changes your spine without being like an animation, you know. Hand bone, I don't know what that's used for, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Forearm bone, maximum spine pitch, maximum, yeah, these are self-explanatory. I don't know what that is, but, you know, just, I don't know, figure it out. I don't know what any of these are, except for collision is probably collision. Scale, that's the scale of your model, so you're going to have to mess around with this value a lot to get the right scale. And if it's like floating or anything, you'll just have to go into your model editor and change it there. Step sound is for things with legs. So like if it's has a step sound, then use this. Otherwise, if it's like 173, use move sound. If don't use both, use one or the other. Blob shadow size, that's like the circle under you for your shadow. I don't know if that's used now since there's real-time lighting. Anyway, stamina is how fast your stamina decreases. Something like 0.1 is really slow, and I think 1 is regular. And then more than that is that, you know. And you can also put a negative so they gain stamina, but that'll go out of the bar. Speed is how fast they move. View offset Y, that's where your first person view is. So if it's like a small character, make this negative, and if it's a big character, make it bigger. Then 0. Holding item offsets, that's for like guns, you know, or like key cards. Yeah, that's actually all of those. Then forearm holding pitch, I'm not sure what that is. I think it's probably has something to do with those. Hitbox is how big the player hitbox is. So 10 is like a regular human, so adjust it from there. Move sound is the same as step sound. It's just going to be a constant sound when they're moving. And then disable roll, I don't know. Disable blood loss, disables blood loss. Disable injuries, make them invincible pretty much. At least I think. Flip pitch, don't know what that does. This makes them an SCP pretty much. They can't pick up items. Rotation mode, not sure what that is either. Don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. Disable jumps, pretty obvious. Collision type, I have no idea what that is either. For idle sounds, just make sure you. I mean, it doesn't actually matter what you do for this because you'll do idle sounds in code. I don't think this matters like at all. For animations, this one is very specific to your model, but you can find the animation ID. This is very important in open this. Oh, I can't. Okay. So that ID is going to be in the docs right here, header. These are your player animations, and they correspond to whatever you have for your ID. So if your player is idle, if it's an idle animation, set the ID to 1. If it's a walking animation, set it to 2. If it's a run animation, set it to 3. And then so on and so forth. You can set it to something random, like this, and then you can activate it later in code for like an emote or something. So usually none of these really matter. It's just going to be when it's activated in game. These are the default ones that are activated in game pretty much. I think there's some other ones, but you know, figure that out yourself. And then dead animations is what's going to play when you're dead. Make sure to do ID 1, 2, and 3 because you can do up to 3 and it'll play a random one. So if there isn't one set, I think it just doesn't, like they just stand there. There's no animation. So make sure to set them all to the same one if you just have one for all 3. So like ID 1, 1 to 34, ID 2, 1 to 34, ID 3, 1 to 34. So they're all the same because it's the same animation. Player textures, that one's pretty much just for registering textures for your role. So if you call it later in code, then it's good for the breach game mode pretty much, so you can find it. Weapon textures are your first person model textures. So I think you would want to have this as the same ID as this, because that's going to apply to your player model whenever they have the texture. So if they have like, you know, an NTF player texture, then they're going to have an NTF player hand texture. Attaches are things like, you know, hats, rings, extra stuff, and you're going to have to use that later in code. It's usually not something you can just find. Weapons, ID, make sure that's not conflicting. You'll be able to find it in UERM.as. File names, just the model. I don't know what type is. Attach ID, make sure that's not conflicting either. Offset X, Y, and Z are just, you know, pretty obvious what they are. Pitch, yaw, so on and so forth. I think this is pretty much the default one. Holy shit, CCleaner just opened. I'm getting scammed. Alright, I don't know why I haven't installed that. Anyways, muzzle flash scale is just the flash texture scale, I think. Yaw. You have to edit these. You have to edit the position in like wherever you're making your model or animating it, because you put the bone, it's a specific bone, and it goes somewhere. Recoil, obvious, spread, so on and so forth. Reload time, I think you just set this to your reload animation, like distance, or it'll tell you in frag motion its duration, and you can get it from there. Shoot sound's pretty obvious. Reload sound, deploy sound, that's when you select it, it'll play a sound like you're equipping it. That's like equip sound, basically. Site offset X, so that's when you're scoping. This is when you're scoping. You're going to want to adjust that. You have to mess around with that a lot. Is view model is for like SCPs. So it's like a first person body model instead of a gun. Animations, I don't know what these IDs are, so you're going to have to mess with it. If I figure it out, I will put it in the description, so look there. And if it's not there, you'll have to figure it out. I'm currently working on that. But yeah, I mean, just define animations. So like, do it what you did for player models, and just one, start to finish, and so on and so forth. Anyways, item ID. This is the ID for the item of the weapon. So make sure that's not conflicting. Again, item name for the item of the weapon. World model is the 3D model that is placed like when you drop it. Item icon is what's going to show up in your inventory. Scale is the scale in the world, so when you drop it, that's the scale of the world model. Pick sound, I'm not sure what that is. I think it might be selecting it or picking it up, something like that. And for items, it's just going to be the same as this. Objects, this is going to be, you can add objects later in code to maps, so just, I'll show that in a tutorial or something, I don't know. Textures, that's for any other textures you might need that you'll apply later in code. That's pretty much everything. And just make sure you are coming back to this if you need the exact order to do things, and that you're not missing something if you get errors or are kicked from your server for content mismatches or something. Yep.